Hello everyone, and welcome to the Complete Python Programming course. In this video, we will talk about conditional statements. This video is part of the beginner tutorial. In the previous lesson, we talked about operators and their basic usage. Today, we'll use what you learned in making decisions. Programs make decisions all the time. Conditional statements are the way we instruct our program of actions to take when a condition is satisfied. The basic syntax of conditional statement is if, let's put that in a comment, if condition statements to execute, else statements to execute. But before we talk about conditional statements, I would like to take a little time to talk about Python syntax. Print hello and print world. Let me run this program. Python 3 main.py, and Python printed hello and world to my program, as we saw in all previous lessons. Let me add a space before the print statement. Notice that the first print doesn't have a space before it, while the second one has a space before the print. Let's run our code and see what Python says about that. And Python reported an error, indentation error, unexpected indent. Why? And it shows us actually where the error is, print world. This is because Python uses indentation to group blocks of code. In other example, in other actual languages, you would go something like if something and execute statement. Let's see how Python use the conditional statements first, and then we go and compare it to other languages so we understand what's going on. If condition colon, and notice that my editor took me to a tab after I hit enter. We'll do that again, and notice I put colon and my editor automatically added a tab because my editor knows that I am using Python because my file name is .py. Now let's take a real example. We talked about true and false, the Boolean types, in the previous lesson. So if 10 equals 10, print 10 is equal to 10. The next part of the conditional statement is the else statement. What to do if the condition is unsatisfied? Print 10 is not equal to 10. Of course, how this will be evaluated, Python will go, is 10 equal 10? If it's true, it will execute this code and it will never reach the else statement. If it's not true, it will continue and go to the else statement. Let's run this code and see what Python says about that. We run our program and Python returned 10 is equal to 10. Let's just create a variable a equals 10 and b equals 10 to make it easier. So a equals b. And we'll change this to a is equals to b and a is not equal to b. This is exactly the same and it will do the exact same thing. Let's change b to 9 and see what Python says. And Python says A is not equal to B, which is what you would expect. Now, let's compare this to different languages or other languages that use what we call a C style. Python doesn't use the C style. We will just see the comparison for now. In other languages, you will do something like this. If A equals B, you open braces, and inside the braces, you put your statements. Print A is equal to B. And the else statement, you would do something like this, and you would type A is not equal to B. Now notice the differences. First, Python doesn't require surrounding our condition in parentheses. Other languages require that. Some of them allow you to ignore that or to omit that, but Python doesn't require that. You just go A equal B, and then you continue. The statements to execute in other languages are surrounded by braces. Although some languages also allow you to omit that, but for now, this is the syntax we would use for that. And the else statement and the braces where you put the else condition that you used. I hope that's clear enough. Now notice that Python doesn't use braces, it uses colon, and then after the colon, it expects everything to be indented so it would know what to execute. In other languages, you don't need this indent. You can do it this way. You can add here five of these, and you can add here whatever you want. They don't have to look the same, and that will work. Languages in general remove all the spaces and tabs and all that before they execute the code. In case of Python, Python need to know what you are doing or how to group your code. And the grouping of Python is done using the indentation. Of course, in the print statements, in the conditions, you can put as much code as you want. And you can write, and I confirm that. In the else statement, you also can add as many statements as you want, and done. Notice that if I run this code, it will run correctly, and Python will print the two statements in B in the else statement because A is not equal to B, and if they are equal, Python will also run the two statements that are in A. How Python evaluates that? First, A equals to B. Python requires a Boolean type here. It will compare A to B as we talked. A equals B. So what we can do, result equals A equals B. Let's print result for now. Print result. And let me comment the rest of the code so it will be just ignored. We are just printing result. And Python printed true because the result A equals B, as we talked in previous lessons, is here in this case true. Now, the result variable is what's used here. Python will do the exact same thing here, and it will evaluate these here. So if you replace this with result equals, if result equals true, let's run that. It should run correctly. Here, to printed the result here and then continued, and A is equal to B, and that's how it runs the program. The print statement, our statement say if result equals to true. You can actually omit true. If result, and we do that very often. If something is true, we just ask the language. I don't know of any language that doesn't support that. If result, execute these statements, and in this case the language understand if result equals true. And if you run this, it will just run exactly the same as without adding true here at all. You can say if results equal false and confuse your program, and it will not do anything other than just return the other statement. Because if result equal true, result is equals to we're asking it if result equals false, but result is true, so it will just ignore everything here and jump and start executing from here. This is the basic syntax of conditional statements in Python. Let me just add another comment. Notice that I'm adding a tab here. I have my editor adding the tab, and I like using tabs, but there is no problem in using spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4 to make it still organized. That's 4 spaces. That's 4 spaces, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I replaced every tab with 4 spaces. I saved my program and let's run it, and the program will run correctly. Now, the entire concept of this is that Python needs a way to group your code, and the way you tell Python is by using indentation. Now here you can replace it with 3 tabs if you want, and it will run exactly the same. Python doesn't care how many tabs as long as, or spaces, as long as it's indented somehow. And that indentation is used with spaces or tabs only. Now notice here's 1 space only and it will run without a problem. I personally prefer using tabs because I work with different languages and I have this as something I do, but there is no problem in using tabs or spaces. Actually, the Python documentation recommends using 4 spaces instead of tabs. That's a matter of preference, and you can use whatever you want. Let me try something else. Here I have 1 tab, and here I will add 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 spaces. 4 spaces here, 1 tab here. It looks exactly the same on your screen. Let me run that and see what Python says about such condition. Run my code, and tab error, inconsistent use of tabs and spaces in indentation. If you use a specific indentation, you have to stick to it and not change it at all in your file. Now, let's do something a little different. I will use here 1 tab and here 2 tabs. Also, you will get the same error because Python expects you to stick to the same indentation you use through your program. I hope this is clear. Indentation for grouping the code. These are one group of code. These are a different group of code. Now that's out of the way. Let's now take some examples to talk about conditional statements. Dog name equals Max. Dog gender equals male. Dog age equals 1. Notice that you don't need these spaces. I think I mentioned that before. You don't need these, but I'm putting them to make the code easier to print. This is valid. There is no problem with doing it that way, but I think this is much easier to read. Print my dog name is, and the print statement in Python can take multiple arguments and it will just add them on the same line. Dog name. I'm asking Python to take my dog name and the word dog name and put them on the same line, print them as that one line. And you can add as many arguments here separated with commas. Print he is a male, or let's print dog gender, and let's go print he is, let's add here any dog younger than 2 years is a puppy. and here he is a puppy. Now Python will print these. Let's try it. Run our program. And Python printed, my dog name is Max. He is a male. He is a puppy. Let's remove this one to make it right. Let's change Max into Daisy. Daisy, she's a female and she is 5 years old. Let's run that. And my dog name is Daisy. He is a female. He is a puppy. We have a problem here. Let's take care of the first problem. My dog name is dog name. That's the same for male and female. How about the gender? We can use if statement or conditional statement to solve this problem. If dog gender equals male, print he is dog gender, or you can add here male directly. He is a male. Else, the other condition, print she is a female. Let's run that and see how it goes with Daisy. My dog name is Daisy. She is a female. If that was Max, and Max is a male, our program will print my dog name is Max. He is a male. We solve this problem. We have the last problem. The dog age and gender play a role in this. Let's fix that. If dog gender equals male, we need he is, and now we need to know another variable. We need to, now we can print the he. Now he is a, else otherwise print she is. Let's fix that, capitalize this, and she is a. Now here we need to know the age to work the statement. Let's add another if statement inside the if statement. If dog age equals or smaller than 2, notice that I will add my statement after the second if statement. He is a puppy. Else, we are still in dog gender male. We can write print he is adult. Let's go back to the else statement. Dog gender equals male. Now we are working with the dog gender equal female, and we can do the exact same thing. If dog age smaller or equal smaller than 2, let's go, she is a puppy, and otherwise else print she is adult. Now let's run our code with Max, male, who is 1 year old, and see how that goes, and then we'll talk about it. Now, my dog name is Max. He's a male. He's a puppy. Let's fix that to make it Daisy. Daisy, she is a female, and she is 5 years. And that will also fix that. My dog name is Daisy. She's a female. She's adult. If we change one variable from these, it will just work fine. Now it will show Daisy or isn't a puppy. Now that's good. How did we do that? Let's talk about if statements. Our first condition is if dog gender equals male, he is a male, else she's a female. The program starts from the top and execute your code one line by another. your program found that the dog gender is male. In this case, let's keep it, oh, that's a female. Okay, found that the dog gender is not male. So it ignored this and printed this statement. She is a female. She is a female. Now after that, your program continued and it found another if statement. If dog gender equals male, is it male? No, it's a female. Your program ignored all this and ran to the else statement. Inside the else statement, it found dog age smaller than 2, print this, other than that, print that, and the program ran correctly. This whole thing is about nested if statements. Inside your condition, you can nest statements. Notice that if condition, statements to execute. Your statements can be anything you want. They can be Python code, they can be loops, they can be anything you want. In this case, in the first one, we are just printing something. In the second case, we are just having more if statements. You can nest as many if statements as you want, as long as the output of each if statement is grouped under that if statement. If you put this here, your program will break because Python will not know how to run that because it's wrong indentation. You have to group them correctly. There is one more thing I would like to talk about here, which is the else if statement. Now let's remove this example and keep it just with a dog, name, and age. Let's keep that and let's just go to here, remove all that, and stay with the dog age. We don't have a dog gender now, and let's remove that. If you are asked to write a program, any dog younger than, let me just put this comment just above the statement to make it clear. Any dog younger than 2 years old is a puppy. Any dog between 2 and 5 is young. Any dog between 5 and 10 is adult. Any dog older than that is old. Now we have a dog age and we need to print the right statement for 4 cases. We have puppy, we have a young dog, adult dog, and an old dog. You could do it with if statements where you would do something like if dog age smaller than 2, print puppy else, and inside the else you can have other nested if statements, but there is one easier way of doing that. It's something called else if. Else if is like else if something, do that, else if do something, do that. Let's see how that works. In Python, the else if statement is elif, E-L-I-F, E-L-I-F in Python. Else if dog age. Notice that I will just put the 5 in this case. Smaller than 5. Print young. Else print old. But I need the adult. I can add one more else if statement. Elif dog age smaller than 10, print adult. Now this will run correctly, and let's see how that goes. Clear, and let's run our code. And my dog name is Daisy, puppy. Why? Because Daisy is 1 year old and it evaluated this statement. Let's try with the 3, and it will actually print young. And if you go to 5, it will print adult. If you go to 6, it will print adult. Of course, you could actually have the comparison here between this and that. You don't need to do it that way, because what Python does here is that if dog age is smaller than 2, it will print the statement. Other than that, it will continue. So you don't need here 2 statements. But there is one more thing I would like to introduce. Let's forget the dog example. I hope this is clear. The else if statement is just another if after the first if. So if, and then else. So you can give it the conditions that way. You can have the and operator in your conditions. I don't want to make this lesson too long, so I will do it with a different example. A equals 10, B equals 10, C equals 5, and D equals 7. If A equals B, print A is equal, or print OK. Else print bad. Let's run this program and see what it does. It printed OK because A is equal to B. You can here add and. That's one more operator in this condition. Now, we are applying logic in this case. We'll talk about these in the future, but for now, just to know what they do. C equals D, print OK. Other than that, print bad. Let's see what it prints, and it will print bad because you are asking Python to evaluate 2 conditions using the AND operator. So you need true here and true here. You're asking Python to make sure that the 2 conditions are true to evaluate and continue for the if statement. Otherwise, go for the bad. I hope that's clear. You can add as many as you want here, and whatever equals whatever. Now, there is one more operator. Let's talk about it here. OR operator. If A equals B and C equals D. Now, that was the previous example. For this one, we'll use the OR operator. A equals B or C equals D. Let's see, why would this print OK? Now, this is the OR comparison. You need one of these to evaluate to true. A equals B equals true, and C equals D will evaluate to false. You want only one of them to evaluate to true for this statement to be true. True, here, it's done. Python will not even continue there. It will just go here. Now, when you have the AND, Python will actually try this. It's a true, but it requires another true. So if you run this program, it will return bad because this is false and it needs 2 trues. If we make this another true, if we change this to 5, now this condition becomes true, and Python will evaluate it to true, and you have 2 trues that are printing OK to your screen. In the next lessons, there will be too many examples for this, and you will get used to them very easily. For now, what you need to do is create some if statements. Try to add multiple conditions and see if you can manage that. If you have any problems, comment and I will try to get to them. Otherwise, try just to run as many of these as you can, create some example, compare things, and see the results of different comparisons. Practicing is the way to learn any programming language. This is it for today. If you like my videos, support the channel by subscribing. Until next time, have a great time.